Hey, this is a podcast that I love. I say it every time, but I can't help it. I love my work. This ain't work. It's me talking to you guys. It's Bob Saget's Here For You. My guest today said something in her new special. I just loved it. It's on HBO Max. It's called Evolution. She says something in it, a little spoiler alert, that vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is strength. And I've always believed that. And she said it, and it resonated with the audience, and it resonates with me. And, you know, it's a very funny special and her most poignant stand-up that she's ever done. And it's really wonderful to watch her evolve. And that's why Evolution could not be a better title. She's got 6 #1 best-selling books. Her most recent is Life Will Be the Death of Me. She's on her new podcast with her assistant, Brandon, and it's called Dear Chelsea. And it just came out last Thursday, and it's going to be on every Thursday it comes out. And I really recommend it because she's not a doctor. She says that all the time, but she has done a lot of work on herself and truly made herself a more evolved person. She's very special, and I've always adored her. And she's owning a lot of her stuff, and I'm just excited for you to listen. So before you do that, rate, review, subscribe, do what you do to this podcast. Go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/Bob Saget. And what's great about Chelsea's podcast, enough about mine, what's great about hers is you will be getting answers from her. It's kind of her version of Dear Abby. I don't think you might know what that is, some of you, but it's advice from someone talking from their gut. She's really a connected, wonderful person. And again, please watch this special Evolution on HBO Max. It's one of the really great ones. Here we go. Here comes my friend Chelsea Handler. So thanks for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure, Bob. Always a pleasure with you. Always a pleasure.
And same here. And it can be 4 years, 6 years. It actually doesn't matter anymore. It used to mean something to me. Like, well, are we friends? But I've always adored you. I mean, like when we used to go out with other people that we knew and drank.
Mm-hmm. Those were the days.
Those were. And I am so happy for you. And I'm going right to it because I can't stop.
You can't stop, won't stop.
Won't stop, can't, and I can't smile without you. No one will know that reference. Gen Z is like not Googling.
There's a new generation, by the way. It's called Generation Alpha. Did you know that?
No, after Z. So what are they, 5, 6?
Generation Alpha is anyone who's born between 2006 and 2020 or something.
Right.
It's confusing. Anyone under 10 basically is Generation Alpha.
Are they as herd-like as Generation Z, which love to come out in multitudes?
Well, I don't know, because they're only like 10 and 11, so we won't find out what they're up to for a couple more years.
Right. Well, I'll try to send out positiveness to them. I don't know what to do. It's just what you've been doing. You're so your special's Evolution. I'm going to promo, but I'm not really. I'm talking to you because it's so damn good. I do think, and I know you thought it because I read, if it's true, I believe it's true, that it's the best thing you've done. It's the best stand-up I've seen from you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it was definitely the most meaningful for me. You know, it was more purposeful than my previous stand-up where, you know, I was in the habit of just getting on stage and telling jokes without any narrative or any like through line. And so when I decided to come back to stand up, it was like, okay, I'm only going to do stand up if I have something important to say, like if I have a message. So it was important for me to kind of focus on that. And so, yeah, I was definitely more focused than I had ever been. I was in my flow state, I would say.
I never saw you like that. And I've always adored everything you ever did because I just did. And you always took chances and you always were ballsy, and yet you were always carefree about it. You'd make these statements that would ruffle feathers of people because some people are half chicken. And this one, it was, I don't want to say theatrical, but you got emotional for real. And you also were trying to forgive all the people that you've been, people call you, you look you up and it says activist. I'm like, person with feelings,
Right. Yeah. A lot of people like to, I do ruffle feathers, and you can't be upset, you can't really worry about that because that's always been my shtick. Like if I didn't do that, it would be weird. So yeah, I'm not so worried about ruffling feathers. I used to not think about it at all.
Right, not at all.
I didn't consider anything or anyone or whatever, but now at least I'm a little bit more thoughtful about my activities and what I do and say, but I still have an element where it's very hard to care what other people are saying about me.
Well, we have to, because I've been attacked and, he's the family comic gone dirty and stuff. But it's not that, because I have more, you bring up empathy so much because you're right on you're exactly where we're at, which is you came out very outspoken against Trump, and here you're forgiving, you're empathetic. Not that people that support Trump would care to hear that, but there's things people must see this special on HBO Max. I'm actually if anyone's on YouTube, they have to look at this because this is truly, I believe, a work of art. This special.
Oh, thanks.
There you be. Now you went and did this right at the train station in New Jersey.
Yeah. I went back to my Jersey roots. This special is basically about me decuntifying, right? Like you get to a point in your life where all of a sudden your behavior and your attitude isn't working for you. And that's what happened to me. At first I thought it was about Trump because that was a perfect person to lay my anger at,
Right.
So incensing that he could be elected. I was like, what? But then, as I went into therapy and got some information about my own brain and how it worked and my life experience and, the things that have a huge impact on you that you're not really having enough regard for or taking seriously enough. I used to brush off when my people would ask me about my brother dying. I'd be like, oh yeah, that was a long time ago. My mom's dead too. Everyone dies in my family. I would make a offhand comment or a stupid joke. And sitting down with your own emotions is a big undertaking and it's not pleasant. So, and I was so angry when I started therapy. So I came to the realization, I'm like, okay, now you're just being a cunt. Like you can't just be going through life like this. But when I went to my doctor, I was like, listen, I need to be less of a cunt. I'm like, I have no patience for anybody. I go, everyone annoys the shit out of me. And he's like, why? I'm like, you don't feel that way? And he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, I think this is something that I'm dealing with specifically. So to unpack all of that is a big undertaking and it's worthwhile for sure because, you can get a lot of perspective about why you do things and, how you are in life.
I lost two sisters. And so people always go, well, why did I become what I became as a stand-up? I was running from it. And when one was 34 when she died, one was 47, and I so am there, and people have lost siblings that are listening, and it's so beautiful the tribute that you pay to Chet in this thing. And you're talking about Dan, and I thought, wait, is that her boyfriend? Is that her husband? And in the beginning, because I think I missed the word
therapist.
Psychiatrist. And when did you start seeing Dan, since you're open about it? Because I know it's a life change because you're different. You're growing at such a rapid speed right now, which is why I'm so excited about your podcast, which we'll talk about. But how did that come about, you and Dan?
Well, it was after the election and I just couldn't handle, I was addicted to that 24-hour news cycle and I was obsessed with, I just couldn't believe that we had to look at Ivanka and fucking Donald Trump Jr.'s veneers for 4 years straight. I just couldn't understand how that was acceptable and that these fucking morons were going to be in the White House. It was just unreal.
But how did you feel about them?
So that anger was hard to wrangle for me.
Right.
People would see me coming and they'd be like, oh fuck, here she comes. Like I was so being so political, and I was so out there. My manager at the time, well, my manager Irving, one of my managers, is like, he's like, you're killing your career. I'm like, who gives a shit about my career? This fucking lunatic is gonna ruin our country. So I was that strongly, I had very strong feelings. And then I just realized how harsh I was behaving and how harsh my behavior was coming across to people. So I decided to go in, but I interviewed him on my Netflix show for something else about childhood brain development. And then, I kind of went in under that guise, like a safe, like, oh, I want to learn more about the brain in a linear, non-confrontational way, like not personally, like I'm just interested, in how the amygdala works or the prefrontal cortex or bullshit like that.
Right.
And after about 3 to 4
scientists, neurologists love that bullshit like that.
Yeah, right. And after about 3 or 4 weeks of that, well, it was longer, because I was dancing around the subject. And, Dan would kind of circle me back, my therapist. He would kind of circle me around to my childhood a lot. And I'm like, it's not about that. I'm like, don't worry about my childhood. Nothing to see there. My brother died. My mom died. My dad will hopefully die soon. And I said, I'm fine with death. That's something I know how to handle. And, that is where all the trouble lies, because, of course, my relationship with my brother, I kind of underplayed until I had to sit there and talk with Dan, like talk through it and talk about how much he meant to me and how he was the oldest and I was the youngest. And we were like bookends. And he was like my first crush because I did everything with him. I was his little plaything. They would take me to parties, my brothers, and they would be like 15, 16, 17 going to bonfires in Martha's Vineyard. And they would take me, and I was like 5 years old, and they'd be drinking, smoking pot. And so I was like, I had all these memories that I just had to kind of put away. As I grew older and as you get away from them, you kind of forget the impact that someone has on your life, especially if you're pushing it away. If you're like, I can't, it's too emotional. I'm not that kind of person. I didn't want to be vulnerable with any man for sure. And, Dan so elegantly explained to me that my reasoning and my behavior with men was a direct result of me feeling like I was abandoned by my brother dying.
And your father.
And my father, who was basically useless for the 10 years after my brother died because he was so grief-stricken, we kind of lost both of them.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, they lose a child, they might have 3 other children, but they just spend their lives wallowing in that.
Can I ask how your sisters both died?
Yeah. She was, had a lot of mental issues. She went through schizophrenia for a while. But she had it a little bit under control with some helpful meds, but wasn't the same person. And she had a brain aneurysm, but we're not sure how she really passed because her psychiatrist signed the death certificate. So we don't really know if she took pills. My dad broke down the door and found her. My other sister has scleroderma, which is, I've talked to you about, has hardening of the skin and can go to your internal organs. And that's why I do my benefits for Scleroderma Research Foundation to help people. And she died in 1994 at 47. They were both beautiful and wonderful. And it made me, it really drives you insane that you want to help other people that go through it. That's my alternative to wallowing in it. Because I have 3 children and nobody gets out of here without something happening to them,
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. That's true. We're all traumatized. So it's just good to kind of like face it head on. Right. And then, because the sooner you can deal with the emotions, the sooner you're not holding on to it or repressing or oppressing your emotions.
Right. And this is what you're doing on this new podcast. I'm promoting quick so I can get into heavy duty meat because you are, I can't tell you how obsessed I am with you right now in the best way. This new podcast, which is Dear Chelsea, just came out on Thursday. It comes out every Thursday, and it's you tackling every single subject and talking to people about them. How do you vet the questions? Do people call? Do you call them back?
people write in, they call in, some people don't want to, whatever. We have conversations with people. And, at first I was like, I want to do an advice podcast on, all the things that I have no business giving advice on, like parenting, marriage,
Right.
legal advice, everything that, is stupid that I shouldn't be commenting on. But then it actually kind of turned into something real because and my experience with oversharing my therapy experience or, really telling the world about it with my book and my special, I have gotten so many people writing to me, asking for advice, whether it's DMing me on Instagram or in real life or at shows when I've been performing. And I just thought, I am that friend that is going to, push you in the right direction or
You
push
truly
you
are.
in
And
a
that's
direction.
right. And you always have been. And that's what no matter what you do, you can't avoid being a stand-up at heart. Because I remember when I did your show on Netflix, and I was on with the Stranger Things kids, who are now 50 now, but Millie Bobby Brown and those other kids who were lovely. And you didn't seem, if I may say so, like that engaged in the process as much. This is a completely different you. You even told me I don't want to do stand-up anymore, which I've done a few times. And right now, I'm going to be 65. And in your special, you talk about you don't want to be with a 65-year-old man. You've always dated men older. But now you're at the point where when you're 65, maybe you'll date someone that age. But
yeah, when I'm 65, I'll probably have sex with a 65-year-old, but not a day before.
no, but I don't have that sweaty thing. I'm more dehydrated.
I know, but Bob, we have too much history behind us,
Yeah. And I'm married. I'm married.
Well, there you go. That's one good reason.
But you're still single, and I think this special is better than any dating app I ever saw for you. This is amazing. An intellectual, smart, handsome, age appropriate for you, which is whatever the hell you want.
I thought you were going to call me a handsome woman. I was like, Bob, what?
No,
are you going to be
even though
75 or 65?
Even though you talked about your testosterone and hormonal, people have to see this special. It is exactly where you're at. Now, is it based on this book, Life Will Be the Death of Me? Is that how a lot of it came about?
I love it. You have all my friends.
I use visual aids. No, I don't do this a lot. Usually I have conversations with someone, but I wanted to just refresh because I'm obsessed with how great you are. 6 New York Times bestsellers. So you have the discipline to sit down and write 4 hours a day when you do a book?
Yeah, I can get disciplined when I have to. I'm all over the shop. So I try now to do one thing at a time and to do it really well because
Right.
my habit was to do 85 things at one time and then kind of always, half-assing it. Yeah, my Netflix show, I just wasn't in the spirit of it. I was, it wasn't the greatest time. And then with the election, that was kind of happened at the beginning.
Right.
After that, I just was like, oh, what am I doing? I don't even want to talk to people. I just was so sick of the process, so sick of the responsibility of having so many people working for you. And yeah, you're right. My heart wasn't in it. And that was exactly the time that I started, was in therapy.
And this special, and Troy Miller's an old friend who directed it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I love him. We did a bunch of pilots together. But this thing was so gorgeous how you were outdoors. It didn't feel like it. It's so amazing how it was done. And when did you shoot this?
Well, we shot it during COVID, last August. So
Right.
I was on the East Coast and I wanted to do it was kind of like a homecoming. I really wanted to put something out during COVID because I felt the country's depression and I wanted to lift people and do something. And so I was intent on, I had sold it right before that COVID had happened, but we kind of waited for New York to calm down after their first wave. And then I headed back there.
God. And so a lot of it does stem from the book with your exploration through therapy and how you've wanted to not be mad at the people that have tortured you, meaning in your case, Trump, and a lot of our cases, all of the hypocrisy and the people. The man next to you on the airplane, if anybody wants to hear a great airplane story, it's all the way up there with one of my favorites at this
Yeah,
point.
men are so disgusting, as we all know. You know that, and we all know. We found out the last couple of years what men have been up to. It's like, oh my God. So this was just another addition to that. And on airplanes, what can happen when a man is disgusting and on an airplane is something that I'm not prepared to deal with, even after all my therapy. You know, I need a lot of cannabis. I haven't been to an airport in a really long time because of COVID.
Right.
It's going to be interesting when I have to get back into that. You know, when I go on tour again, I'll have to like be flying around the country dealing with these kinds of people. So I'm curious to see how I behave.
Well, it's interesting because I've been getting farted on, and it's the reason, people judge people that can afford to go private, which isn't that many people on this planet, but it's a reason, unless you're a pilot or your people that are with you are farting. But this was repugnant, and I don't understand why they don't have some kind of monitor that goes from their brain to their ass that explains to them there are other people in the world.
I think when you're flying, there is a farting situation that is not as controllable as when you are on the ground. I think that something happens with the elevation that promotes farting, right? So
it promotes it by filling you with more air in your body.
And then sometimes your asshole can just leak, right? So it can just slip out. I don't have that problem, but I definitely have farted on a plane and pretended like, oh, who's that? Like when it was me. Like,
it's always good to look around angry at others when you've done it, and then turn the fan on.
And turn on your air conduit, and then overly reacting to the smell is always a good way to get away with farting. And plus, I'm like, no one's going to think it's me. I'm a girl with long blonde hair. I couldn't possibly be farting. But yeah, when it does happen to you, it is really hard to manage. When you are being farted on for a 5-hour stretch, and the person is also physically repulsive, it's very hard to get your head around that. Because you're almost like, what did I do in my life to end up here?
Yeah, and I mean, masks should be required over mouths and anuses, I think.
Well, I think the great news about the masks are I don't have to smell people's breath anymore. And, I'm not opposed to that. I think that's actually a good way for us to continue with the mask wearing, to a degree, like on airplanes, obviously, and other situations. But yeah, I'm not mad at wearing a mask. I kind of it's a sunblock. And it works as a breath block. So there are two, things to remember that are good from it.
And the true selflessness is that you realize your breath doesn't smell good, but you take it. You live with it.
Right. I mean, you can speak for yourself. My breath is amazing all the time. When I wake up in the morning, it smells like flowers.
I won't say what your butt smells like, but it does not smell like other people's, from what I understand, from what I've read. Wait,
yes,
that doesn't work.
I don't know if you read that,
I didn't. It's not in your book, but I wrote it in there so I could talk to you about it. Where did you work out Evolution? Where did you work out the special?
Oh, so I was on the East Coast. So I did my family vacation for 2 weeks in Martha's Vineyard, which was a shit show. Because usually we go for 1 week. I was like, oh, it's COVID. Everyone's been stuck at home. Let's go for 2 weeks. 2 weeks with my family was a big mistake. So after I left that there and then told them all how things were going to go from here on out, I'm like, this is how vacations are going to go from here on out. This is a choice I make. It is not it's not, happening regardless of my choice. It's just not automatic. So I left there and I was like, fuck, I was so happy, after 2 weeks. It was just such a long time to be with. I have 20 people in my family. So it was a long time to all be together, stuck in a house. But anyway, I left there and I was on my mission to practice my set because I obviously with COVID, I haven't practiced. So I went to Rhode Island and did some comedy club there that had 30 people capacity. And I just worked it out there. And then I went to that other place that's kind of like a strip club in New Brunswick, Stress Factory,
right.
That place.
Yep.
And that basically was like performing at a strip club. And I just kept running the set. I ran it 20 times in front of wasted, drunk, shit-faced people. So it wasn't any indicator of what the show was going to be like, because I hadn't been in a club like that or of that size in so long. So it was really humbling, having to do 2 shows a night when like everyone's wasted in New Jersey. It's their first time out from COVID. So everyone's just a hot mess. But it was worthwhile because I had to kind of just put my head down and suck it up.
It's more than worthwhile. It is it's an amazing special because you talk about things, and I'm thinking about you working it out. Here you are talking about privilege. You're getting massaged. There's 12 to 15 minutes of what goes about in a massage, getting touched, and oh my God, I would totally go. I don't want to give any spoilers away. We're going to take a break. Watch how long my breaks are. I am so inspired, and the people that I love, we love the same people, Dave Chappelle, the people, Bill Burr, the people that are coming out, and just, you think Bill Burr might be saying something that you don't agree with, but as you listen, you go, oh my God, okay. Are you a fan of Bill's?
I'm not as familiar with his work as I am with Dave's.
I think you would like it because it is, he has a lot of love for everybody that he's given a hard time to, and he's misunderstood. That's the kind I got to ask you: has social media done to you what they try to do to all of us? Have they? Do you block people? Do you go on there frequently? What do you do when people come at you and go, "How could you say this? You're bashing Trump and your sexuality and yada yada"?
Well, we're in a very sensitive time, and I'm welcoming that time because
Same.
what we've learned, you better say same. White men have no excuses right now, but just to say, we're sorry. Thank you for letting us know. There's
100%. And I can't jump.
Right. And you won't be jumping again for the rest of your life. It's a wrap on jumping.
It's a wrap.
But I do think that it's a good challenge for everybody to be a little bit more careful with their wording and to think a little bit more about the people that you're talking to and the people you're talking about, and to really start with ourselves, right? That's really what comedy is self-deprecation, and starting with our own story and why we're idiots and why we're morons. And I think that's a good lane for all of us to stay in, right? While we work on equitability and equality. So we have to really focus on that. And it's like, I know it's inconvenient, or it may seem inconvenient for a lot of men, but it's necessary because everyone has been so discriminated against. So it's there's an overcorrection happening now in order to reach some sort of equality balance. And we're a long way from there. So we'll tell you guys when it's done.
Well, if I was doing, I would never say things that I said 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And, you apologize for them, but it was a different time, and it's not an excuse, but it still is what it is. Now, are there things that you have from 20 years ago that you go, oh my God, why did I talk that way, think that way? Why did I use those words?
Of course, but of course, I'm reminded of them all the time. And again, it is an evolution. You learn, and you do better when you know better, and you realize what the impact that you're having and how your words are carried. You can't take being a public person lightly, and you do have a responsibility. That can sound corny to some people, but it's true.
No, you're 1,000,000% right, and I am totally accepting, and I love the change. I love being told, no, this is how this is interpreted. And a lot of stuff we look at of people that we always liked, we're going like, wow, they said that. I'm sure they wouldn't feel that way today if they could go back. Some are gone, not with us anymore. People that we both liked, comedians.
Gone, you mean dead or canceled?
Dead. No, they're canceled for reasons,
Yeah. Right. And some people are canceled and then they come back. I think it's really also about your apology, right? When you say you're sorry, you need to mean it and not just be ticking a box. And what are you sorry for? I believe in redemption. I'm not into the cancel culture either, but I want to redeem people. I want men who've made bad mistakes, and said the wrong things, especially if they're not a rapist. I want there to be redemption. I want people to be forgiven and to have a chance to evolve. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I also, I feel that way about it. I feel like this is a good place for us all to be reflecting.
Well, I have never been more motivated to do stand-up. I got to start doing it a couple weeks ago.
Where'd you go?
I went to Atlantic City. I opened the Hard Rock in their Tess Arena.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a 7,000 seat place, but we were doing 1,000 a show. Probably should have been less, but it's Atlantic City. So it's like The Sopranos.
It's lawless.
And then I did a 420 event on the rooftop of a San Francisco hotel, which was an amazing experience because everyone was stoned. And you don't hear the laughter, but you see a half smile like they're having a stroke, and you know you're killing.
Right. Well, that's how you know you're killing, for sure.
Me for sure. And I need visual aids to know I'm doing well. But then I did the Irvine Improv, which I know you're going to go into, which is a fantastic room.
Oh, I love that. That's where I do my warm up. So I'm doing that at the end of the month. I'm doing like Nashville Zanies. But
I'm going there too. These are the best rooms.
Yeah. Nashville Zanies and Irvine and Brea Improv is where I like to warm up. Like when I'm coming up, I have to come up with a new hour now that my stand-up special's out. So those are the great places to kind of work it out when you're in that club environment, right? I have a bunch of shit I want to talk about, but I have no order. I don't know, what I'm doing, but I have like 10 shows, and by the time I'm done with it, I'll have a set together. I hope that I can.
And that's quick because you're so savvy at it. But it is amazing that you'll do a show, you'll ramble on that first show, and you go, wait a minute, all the new stuff's in that first show, but I didn't know what I was doing. And then you go through it, and it's like doing a small theater. It has those particular venues feel like it, Zanies and. Do you ever play Comedy Works in Denver? That's another very good
I like that one too. I haven't been there in many years, but I like that one too. I have a friend that lives in Nashville, so I like to go stay with him, and then I do that club. But yeah, it's a great place because you're connecting with the audience. It's not like you're at a theater or something bigger where people are so far away from the stage. Like you really are able to have conversations with the people in the audience, and I like that. And yeah, it's a little intimidating to get on stage for an hour when you don't have a real concrete plan, but that's what stand-up is like figuring it out as you go along and adding little nuances here and there and taking notes. And, it's a good way to get into your flow state.
And you have an unusual facility at being able to just have conversations, which is why, and again, you've done the podcast thing before, but you're in a completely different place. So you must be so excited that you're doing this new one now.
I am. The new one is just so fun because it's me and my assistant Brandon just giving advice, and we have serious shit. People calling in with serious problems, and we also have people calling in with ridiculous problems like is it okay to microdose cocaine? So I mean, it's a whole spectrum, but it's fun to feel like I'm doing something that isn't just servicing myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to be able to go and be like, okay, yeah, you couldn't be like, oh, who do you think you are? Well, that you can help people. It's like, I fucking know I can help people. I've done it my whole life.
Right.
So I will do it. Of course, I'm not a therapist or a doctor, but I'll act like one. And then.
Well, you've had enough. When you have enough therapy, I've been able to impart that with my daughters and my close friends, and I end up being the person people call for help. And I know that you must have that with a lot of your close friends, right?
Yeah, totally. I'm the crisis manager. When anybody's in a crisis, I get a call for sure. And I like it. I like it because I know I'm good in a crisis because my whole life has been a crisis. Like I'm very good when it's about someone else. I'm very good at focusing on other people. So that's also something that I wanted to, capitalize on in a way. Not capitalize is the wrong word because that sounds like money oriented, but it was a way for me to do a podcast that wasn't just me jerking off, like what you're doing. No, it wasn't just.
Honestly, I have it. I'm just holding my stylus.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that literally. I would never accuse you of masturbating in this time and place because I know that
I'm exhausted by it, to be honest, and it's not my age.
But you're exhausted from masturbating so much.
Well, I threw my back out. I have to take a Vicodin or a microdose. Is it possible to take a microdose of cocaine? I don't think that's possible.
No one can microdose cocaine. That's not like psilocybin. Microdose cocaine just means you're a cokehead.
Yeah. Now, okay, you talk about marijuana in your special. I know you talk about it in your book and how it's helped you, how it has calmed you down. You drink less than you used to, which you say in your special. You never thought you'd say that. And there it is from knowing a lot of people with mental health issues that have breaks. It is said by some people that it can lead to a break for some people.
A psychotic break? You mean marijuana?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard that? Do you ever think about it? Because I also I don't really smoke anymore. I used to years ago, but I'm kind of high anyway because I did enough. But you find it to be very relaxing and helps you, right? That meditation
it helped me calm down. Like it helped me just shut the fuck up and sit down and stop talking so much and to think and to reflect and to do a lot more listening. So it helped me in that way. It definitely helps me. Like right now I'm on a cannabis break, because I was smoking too much. So a caller called in and he was smoking too much. And I said, let's go on a 30-day break together. Right. So I'm doing that. I'll still take edibles, but I won't smoke it. So I'm really, what was the word I was thinking of? I can't think of the word I was thinking of. Sorry. Anyway, yes.
A hiatus?
A hiatus. No, it was something else. Anyway, so yeah, but I don't think I don't know about the psychotic break. I mean, I've heard stuff like that too, and that can happen with also psychedelics, right? You can do ayahuasca and you can have a psychotic break, and you can do acid. So I think I'd have to really look into the marijuana aspect of it. Listen, cannabis isn't for everyone, but there's a lot of people and there's a lot of ways it can help you that people are just not aware of because there's such a stigma attached to it because it was criminalized for so long that people just think like, oh, pothead, let me tell you, you can be very productive as a pothead. I wrote a book, filmed a documentary and did a stand-up special in the span of a year when I was, discovering cannabis. There's a creative boost it can give you. It's about what strain you're doing. And it isn't for everyone. So anyone who has any predisposition to any sort of mental health disorder, of course, you have to think twice about ingesting something like that. But for a lot of people, it's a great way to sand down the edges and take the edge off and help you with anxiety and help you with sleeping, anything other than pharmaceuticals in this fucking country, because the pharmaceutical industry is so demonic, and look what they've done to us. So any opportunity to pivot away from what people rely on in terms of anti-anxiety medication and sleep is a good thing with a plant that grows out of the ground.
I went through an ordeal years ago with Ambien, and I really had to get off of it. And it was because I was traveling so much, and I wanted to go to sleep like a switch, and we're not meant to be doing that. And then I made a change when I was on an airplane, and I saw a gentleman getting up in slow motion and reaching into the overhead bin. He had no idea he was there. He didn't know what he was doing. He had taken an Ambien on the flight, which is really foolish to do. And he was acting out, and he ate everything that came near him, and it was embarrassing. And I said, I'm not going to be that person, and not all of us are that fortunate. You're so disciplined. You're able to say, I'm going to take a break right now. With the drinking, which have you given up drinking entirely?
No. I'm never going to do that. I don't want to.
Me neither.
I know. I'm not a quitter. I like alcohol and I like the buzz I get from it. And it helps me. It's an upper for me. So no, I haven't quit drinking, but I have had the experience that you've had with Xanax or Ambien. I once took an Ambien when I was in some casino in Connecticut performing and went out on it. I was out at the blackjack table with my eye shades over my head and in my bathrobe, gambling, playing blackjack and winning in a complete
definitely winning because there's no thought.
No,
it's all instinct. Luck happens on Ambien.
Yeah, shit happens. I mean, I once woke up in my car with an empty pot of spaghetti next to me in the car. And I was like, oh my, have I gone for a fucking drive? Like I had no idea. So Ambien is the worst in my opinion. Xanax was my kind of sleeping pill. I still take Xanax once in a while, but I try to focus on the edibles for sleeping. And right now I'm not having any issues sleeping. You know how you go through these kind of biological changes? Like I was in Whistler for 3 months skiing in the beginning of this year.
Oh, I know. I have to talk to you about that because I am beyond a fan and fascinated. Anybody that's not following you on Instagram is missing out on their life.
And I would go to bed every night at like 9. Okay. I couldn't stay up past 8:30 or 9. And I'd wake up every morning at 5 o'clock, like wide awake, like a rooster. And my friends were like, God, you're like a toddler. Like, what schedule is this? And I'm like, I don't know, buddies. But I would get up at 5. I'd have like 3 hours before the mountain opened. I'd get on my Peloton. I'd meditate. I'd do all the shit that I had to do work wise, LA stuff. And then I'd go ski most days. But the experience of, and then I came home and now I go to bed at like 10, 11. I wake up every morning at 6. And so like my whole biological, I mean, not that by that much it has changed, but enough to be like, cause I was like, I don't want to fucking wake up at 5 every morning. It's so lame.
Right.
No one's up for like 3 hours.
No, not unless you're doing the weather on network television.
No, but it's good for me to get up earlier than others just to, do my meditation, try and just repeat the mantra, like, don't be a bitch, don't be a cunt, don't be a cunt, don't be a bitch. And then go out into the world, right? I have to prepare myself emotionally and mentally.
I do the same mantra.
Yeah, well, you should be. It's a great mantra.
I am to blame for most things. So now it's so funny how all of us get misconceived. I was misconceived. My mom almost didn't. Never mind. But
misunderstood is what I think you meant to say.
I think so. I think you could actually correct me during the day completely.
I'll woman-splain to you.
Please.
Yeah, give you guys a taste of your own medicine.
Oh, I'm open to it, and I'm accountable for my words. And I also am, I think, unlike a lot of guys that you talk about, what guys are like, and what you've always talked about, I change every, 6 to 8 years majorly. My work changes, I change. And what my kids have gone through, I think I've changed even more now as I turn into a non-sweaty, younger-looking, almost 65-year-old man.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that about sweating. I'm actually sweating right now talking to you, and I'm wondering if it's because I'm sexually turned on.
Maybe I'm the one. I'm the only one of my age group that you don't find to be a sweaty, almost turning into a woman just because that's what men do type of guy.
Yeah, right. That's probably what it is.
I don't think so. I think I have a youngest daughter who was always walking around naked. She was a little kid, and you talk about it in your special. I know in your book that you did that. Clothes were off.
Oh yeah, I loved to be topless when I was a kid, and that was very prescient because look at me now. I still love to be topless, but there was a period of time in between my topless escapades where I was very, very self-conscious about my boobs because they came in overnight one night, just like a bat out of hell. Some older man put his arm around me in a movie theater, and the next day I got my period, and I'm convinced he brought it on. I got my period and I got my boobs literally overnight, and they were huge, and I was too young to have boobs like that.
How old were you?
12.
Was this a stranger?
Yeah, a stranger. And my sister was sitting next to me, and we were at the movie theater in Martha's Vineyard, and he put his arm around me, and I kicked her in the leg, and she said, "Sir, please take your arm off of my sister." And he did. And we got up and moved. And then the next morning I had my period, and I was like, that fucking bastard.
He is. That is, I'm
going to sue him. I'm still going to sue him if he's still alive, which I'm sure he is.
And if he is alive and you find him and he's in a nursing home, you should maybe get a pillow and visit him. Just put him down. I mean, that is a horrific.
I think people should be put down a little bit more often than they are, and I wouldn't mind if I got some terrible prognosis or diagnosis. I'm sorry. I would opt probably to be put out, don't tell me what night you're going to give me the pill, but just give it to me one night. And I don't want to go fight cancer. I don't want to go be in a hospital. I don't have it in me. I'm wiped out, and I've had a great life. So I don't want.
Oh, you're so young, and you're literally with what you're experiencing right now. I'm watching it, and it's so beautiful what you're going through right now. You didn't even want to do stand up. You weren't motivated the same way. There's so much positiveness coming out of you. I just adore it. I watched the special and I was so inspired. And I was talking about my dad in one special, and I started to cry during the special. And we used that from one of the shows. And when you talk about your brother and you go there, and some people will go, "Oh, that was theatrical. That was like a Broadway moment." But it was so genuine because you are so genuine, and that's what the gift you have is that you can give to people. To not be afraid of those emotions. You're just going through acceptance of it and trying to understand his loss now.
Yeah. And also, I can't fake anything. I mean, that much we know. Like, I can't pretend something that's not real. So, specific to that moment in the special, it's like, I practiced that so many times, and you don't get emotional every time. It doesn't matter. You're just
Right.
doing it. You're not trying to be, I'm not trying to cry. I'm not like, do it now. You just have to be present. And you're really talking about something that is so inside of you, like it's so deep and meaningful to you that you'd be an idiot not to feel something. So yeah, I definitely felt like, oh, this is dramatic, but it was also so necessary. And I just love the idea of having a moment. It's kind of like that not terms of endearment, that Steel Magnolias moment where
Right.
Julia Roberts dies, Sally Field's there, and she's just like, I'm so mad. I just want to hit somebody. And then like they throw out Olympia Dukakis, God rest her soul.
Yeah.
And they said, here, hit Weza, hit her. So it goes from this very dramatic, hysterical crying to hysterical laughter. And I love that moment, where it switches like that. And I really thought, after I saw Hannah Gadsby's special and the way she did that, I thought, oh, wait, I can do that in my own way. And my agent, who might be your agent too, Nick Nuciforo,
I always loved him. He's not now, but I love
the best.
him.
He was like, you got to hang on to that moment. Like, I know you're scared as a comic to be serious in a moment, but you just did 45 minutes with a laugh every 20 seconds. You can go and take 5 minutes to tell a story that everything's been leading up to, and sit with it. And that is the hardest thing as a comedian, is to sit with that uncomfortable, because all we want is laughter, right? It's if it goes for too long without laughter, you're like, you start to scramble a little. You're like, wait, what's going on? And that's something that Chappelle is just mastered.
That's what I was going to say. He's the one that has inspired me the most. I've known him for so many years, and I went into Yellow Springs. Did you go in there and do that?
Yeah. I went one weekend. We should go back when you go back. We should go together. That would be.
I'll talk to Jeff, because I'll tell him that, because I went there and then we had to shut down. They had to shut down for reasons of safety. But I'm going back, and Dave Chappelle is one of those people, maybe one of the only ones, who has changed me even more to stand there and get out stories that mean something, and then still do the laughs. You're there to make them laugh. And it isn't a one-way street. You're getting from them what you're giving to them. And that's what some people don't understand. I've had people on Twitter go, comedians do it for themselves. It's like, no.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Because you literally are you're on a stage with a microphone where no one can fucking interrupt you. There's one person holding a microphone. So you think about it, and it is so who do you think you are that you could just do that? And it's like, we're so in need of that attention and that laughter and that connection. The reason we're up there trying to entertain you is because we want to be connected to you.
Very much. And what you've done it in all your books with, about vodka, but Life Will Be the Death of Me and Evolution it's a different level that you're at. It's just, there's also love in what you're doing, and your self-effacingness, which you've always done. You've always given yourself a hard time, which people say, Rodney Dangerfield, you make fun of yourself first, and then, but this is not that. This is sharing your humanity, which is what a sweet spot to be in as a funny person who gets to also be a communicator on a deep level.
Yeah, the communicator is good. I think my brother said that to me once, because I was kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to work anymore. I went through that phase for a while, and I was just kind of, at the beginning of therapy. And I remember I was doing something in Florida, in Scientology land, that whatever that town is where they all are. And I don't know why I was there, but I remember he met me, and he was like, people like respond to you because of your honesty. Like, just whatever you do, just make it honest. Just share your story. Like, that's what you've been doing. And that's what people like, is that there's no bullshit. So whatever you think you want to do, just remember that. And I thought, oh, that's good to hear. Cause first of all, my brother's probably never, ever given me a compliment in my life. So I was like, what? Say that again. But it was like, great. He saved it for a really meaningful one, because I thought about that and I thought, okay, sharing my truth is helpful to other people, because I'm not putting up a veneer. I'm not pretending to be anything that I'm not. And it is therapeutic for other people to know that you're going through the same thing, that you're not alone, that so many people have siblings that are dead, right? Or that have died.
So many. And so many right now that are listening are on the verge of thinking about whether they want to live or not also. But your brother's was not that situation. Your brother shouldn't be gone, but he is.
He is. And what is comforting to me is like, so many people came out to that book tour and it shows them, we're like, this happened to me. My sister died. My brother died. And you realize that it's actually common, it's not uncommon for people to lose those people. So the story that you are holding on to, that you think is only your own, you've realized by sharing it how many other people are going through the same thing. And it is very humane to let people know, like, okay, somebody who's like me is also struggling with these issues. You don't want to just put on a veneer like, oh, everything's great all the time, I'm always in a good mood and I have no struggles and no pain and I make a lot of money. It's like, well, that's not dynamic or interesting. The truth is.
But you also make it very clear that you don't feel that way. You haven't always walked around hopping and skipping. But you have in this special, you had so much delight and more connection. Not that the others weren't great, but more connection than I've ever seen you. It was so like I'm in your living room, that I'm talking to you, that you're talking to me, but I'm talking to you.
It feels like the connection between you and me. I mean, just from doing this special, I feel closer to you.
I'm feeling right now that there's no sweat around my mouth. I'm feeling less smarmy than I've ever felt.
Well, that's a great improvement, because that was, for a while.
Well, you've never thought of me as smarmy, right? You knew me
No,
when I was a renegade dirty guy that we think I need to apologize for. I do regret I would never do some of the stuff that had misogyny to it, or jokes about younger people, because I dated younger people, but so did you. I mean, we dated. I was single for 24 years, Yeah.
No, you're not smarmy. I've never been disgusted by you. I've always liked you. And I know you're a good guy.
I don't think you've ever said that to any man, have you?
I don't think so either, actually. I was saying it. I was like about to start. I was like, what is coming out? What is flying out of my mouth right now?
I like Bob. We're gonna take one more quick break, and then I have to talk to you about naked skiing, because I am obsessed, and so is my wife, by the way, by your amazing ability at this. Okay, so you have done the most amazing Instagram stuff. Do you do TikTok as well?
I think, yes, I'm on TikTok. Yes, I'm new to TikTok.
You ski. Sometimes I think you have a lady's underwear on. I'm being very careful. But
I'm wearing a bikini bottom in this.
Are.
I do an annual birthday video where I ski down the mountain, scantily clad. Last year I had a ski jacket and some socks on and underwear. This year I had just a bikini bottom. That's it. And a Canadian flag and an American flag over my either nipple, and then taped to my helmet. So, because I was representing both countries.
It's a gift to North America, what you've done.
I'm a gift to North America.
I truly believe that, by the way.
And I had a margarita and a joint. So I was celebrating my birthday, and that's how I celebrate. And I am really good at skiing now. So I just thought, fuck it, let me get a margarita and a joint. I was going to put one of my dogs on a baby Bjorn or baby Bjorn, whatever what are they called? You're a father.
Bjorn Borg.
Okay.
No,
I think that's a singer.
Called I think it's a Bjorn, I believe.
Baby Bjorn. Yeah. Okay. So I was going to put one of my dogs in that. And then I was just like, you know what? This is a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat. Let's just focus on my main interests, which are cannabis, margaritas, and skiing.
And showing that you're in good shape, because you are extremely good.
Yeah, showing off my body. I like to show off my body. I also, I just like to be, I just think it's so ridiculous that men are allowed to be topless all the time and be so vile about it when we look so much better, and it's not acceptable.
I could not agree more, but I don't have your body. You put color forms of some kind over the nipplage so that you are appropriate.
Yes, that's appropriate. And I love to be in the cold. We just talked about how much I love freezing cold air. So
Right.
that's no problem. Skiing around in my underwear all day is no problem for me whatsoever. And it was actually a bikini bottom, so it was even more durable than regular underwear. And it was a big hit, and I felt good about it. I mean, I know I overdo with my boobs a lot, but I like to go beyond a joke and just make it unfunny and then funny again later, a long way down the line. And I also want to say that none of my nudity is sexual. It's just silly. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be sexy. I'm not trying to be like, it's just, how ridiculous is it to ski down a mountain with your boobs flying all over the place? I think that's funny. So when people ask me why I do it all the time, it's that reason. I like it. I think it's just, nonsensical to not have people naked.
Have you had people reach out to you to date you after, more so after a post like that? Have you heard from well-known people? Because we know you've known well-known people that you've dated.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of dating approach. I don't get a lot of men calling me up and asking me blindly to go on a date with them. That doesn't happen to me. And I understand why. I know that I'm a lot for men, and that a lot of them probably are like, ugh,
Well, they're not enough of a man then, because you seem to be kind of perfect for a lot of people. If someone that might have, what if you met a guy that had a kid or two? How would you feel about that?
I would be fine. I would be open to that. It depends. It depends on the guy, but I'm open to a relationship, but I'm also not, I'm not actively pursuing that. I like to have sex on a regular basis. So
Like,
if that,
are you talking a few times a day or once
no,
a
like,
week? Or?
no. Just like, I don't like to go, I don't like to, let's not get carried away. I need to have sex like every third day if I'm into somebody, and not more than that. So I definitely am at the age where I really like my alone time. I
Yeah.
enjoy my own company in a way that I didn't for so many years. I was always surrounded by this like group of people, and traveled with a group of people, and so now I kind of really appreciate my alone time, and I don't feel the need to be in a relationship, but I'm open to being in a relationship.
Well, I hope if the right person is there, or maybe they're listening right now,
I
they might
definitely,
be. I mean, you're on this interesting explosion of communication, and I mean, this is really, I feel, and I'm sure you feel the same way, a really interesting time with you because you're so engaged to it. You know?
yeah, I mean, yes, I want, what I say or what I think is that the person just has to be such an additive, right? They have to bring so much, because my standards are high for a reason. I have this life that I love, and I don't want anyone taking away from it. I want somebody who's going to contribute and add something to it, right? So that is, it's a tall order, but I feel like, well, I'm not desperate for it, so I can ask for it.
Who would be a person that you would is can you have a model for the person it would be? Is there someone that you would a composite?
I mean, I like pretty physically, like, fit guys who are into some sport, like who are into some outdoor activity, who are capable, not like, some meathead that's weightlifting all the time, but I like a skier. I'd love a great guy who could ski. Uh,
Right.
I'd love somebody who has some of the same interests as me, but I like they have to have their own shit together. They have to have something going on, and they can't just like, come into my life and that's it. They're just with me all the time. I'm not interested in that either. And they have to be secure. Sarah Silverman's dating a guy, And, she's dating somebody who finally is allowing her to be her and celebrates and supports that, and instead of being threatened by it.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of strong women are after. Like, I want some guy to tell me to shut the fuck up. Not every guy, but I want a guy who's saying like, okay, you're talking a little too much now. Why don't you sit down and take a rest? I want somebody who's going to give me my shit to me.
And that has to be because they know you and they adore you. That can't come just because some guy heard this and went, "Oh, I'm going to give her some shit. She'll like that."
Right.
And Sarah, I have always loved. We've had kind of a kinship. We even did similar types of material at times, but she would get away with it more than me. But now she also is responsible for what we have to do in this new world. Mm-hmm. So how do you move forward now with the scary political climate that we're in? And are you going to be talking politics on this brand new, wonderful podcast, dear
Not
Chelsea?
really. I mean, it comes up sometimes with family dynamics. People have like families who are too conservative or more conservative than they are.
And the ones that don't talk to their parents
because
or,
they're
or siblings or children.
Or if they're gay and their parents are not and voted for Trump, there's discord there. But no, it's not politically. I mean, I think I gave politics a lot of attention. And so now that we have our grandfather in the White House, things are a little bit more stable, even though we have half of the country who believes the election wasn't real or that COVID isn't real.
To believe things that aren't real is just so sad. And to believe that a table is a glass of water is kind of what people are believing. And I'm like, how can they think that?
Like, did you see the news the other day? They were talking about all of these altercations that are happening on airplanes because of people who aren't wearing masks. They're getting fist fights. People are punching flight attendants in the face and are being removed from security off of airplanes because they refuse to put on a mask. Like, what is your fucking problem?
I was watching it and it was interesting because I was watching the same exact report on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox, because I really do try to understand where everyone's coming from.
I like that approach.
And so I do it. I don't love it. It does eat me alive at some point, and I need to detach to live my life and not go crazy like you have been. It's the same exact thing that we've gone through. And I think a lot of people have. And when I watch Fox, they were saying that it's the left that's on planes refusing to wear a mask, when it's just not as much. And not that I'm the guy that knows the real poll, but every clip I've ever seen, it's been some angry guy or lady who is far, far, far from left. And I'm not thrilled about either extreme of cancel, or don't take away my American rights. There's got to be, what you're saying about empathy is the answer. It's caring about other people. You wear a mask because, fuck, I didn't get a cold for a year and a half. I
know. Isn't that so nice? Like, no one's been sick if you didn't have COVID. No one's been sick for so long because we've been protecting ourselves now for over a year that you're like, God, I haven't been sick in ages.
So isn't that proof? I don't know why anybody doesn't know that, but the people that refuse to wear masks don't know it because they probably had colds. And I guess, I don't know.
Well, if you're refusing to wear a mask, it's usually because you're a conspiracy theorist and believe that COVID isn't a real threat. Like, why would you ever go on an airplane where it's crowded with all of these people and not want to protect others? You're exactly right. It is empathy, because it's about this like zero sum game. Like, people are out for themselves instead of thinking of society as a collective, like, we're all in this together,
and people don't like that catchphrase, but it's damn true. And you spoke for me that you're not angry at people that you don't agree with. I just want there to be peace on earth and humanity not hate each other. But if you say all you need is love, people get pissed off.
Well, maybe when you win the Miss America pageant again next time, you can hope for peace on earth when they ask
I don't think I can, because I don't know how to start a sentence with the question. They always say, please. The reason I want peace on earth is because I always forget to do that. I just go right to the answer. Well, I know that you have to do your podcast right now.
I know, but it was such a pleasure to catch up with you, Bob. I miss you.
I really would love to see you. So when we can safely, let's hang out on an airplane. No, let's see each other. I would
But
love it.
this was it. We just saw each other, Bob. This was
I
it.
know. Isn't that weird? I get the same thing where people go, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long," and I go, "Well, no, we're seeing each other now. Can we
This
enjoy
is
the
the
moment?"
moment. Right.
But
right.
I meant out in the world, perhaps have a drink and a steak.
Yeah, well, let's plan on trying to coordinate to go to Dave's comedy Yellow Springs together. We'll try and figure out.
I'll talk to Jeff about that, the beautiful Jeff Wills. So everybody, I'm going to talk, when you sign off, I'm going to talk about Dear Chelsea and, oh my God, Evolution on HBO Max. I just kudos, just congrats on such a great piece of work.
Thank you for your effusive endorsement of my work. I really appreciate how passionate you are.
Well, it's going to last because I like your work much more than mine. And I actually just adore you. So congrats. And I can't wait to listen to your podcast more because it just started.
Call in anytime for some advice. Yeah, I know you need it.
I so do, especially after this podcast. I'll be analyzing it. And you'll help me through my neurosis.
I know. I will.
Lots of love, Chelsea. Thanks so much.
Bye, Bob.
Bye, Chelsea. Chelsea Handler. I don't know if you can tell, but I really adore her. I've known her a long time. You've got to watch Evolution on HBO Max. It's really one of her best works, and it really is for everybody. It's for everybody, and it really, my wife's going to love it because it deals with things, and I've found it so funny talking about, massages and mani-pedis and how you deal with it in COVID and life. It's definitely not a COVID special. It's about everything. It's about where she's been, what she's gone through, and a lot of things that we have commonality in, which is life and death and people that you love that you lose. Her podcast is Dear Chelsea, which comes out every Thursday, and it's from iHeart. It's just great. Her New York Times bestseller, Life Will Be the Death of Me, is her most recent of her 6 New York Times bestsellers. And she's going to be on tour. So if you have a chance to catch her, she's ever growing. She's working on a new hour, which is what you do after you do a special. And I've known her. I've never seen her like this. She's literally just wonderful. So that's it. Chelsea Handler, you know what to do here. You rate, review, you subscribe. You can go to the YouTube page, which is, youtube.com/Bob Saget. But I just am really happy to do this podcast when I get to talk to people, and I get to talk to Chelsea Handler because she is one of the good people and one of the purely funny, heartfelt, connected comedians and writers. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves, everybody. That's a command from from a dad and from somebody that actually also has empathy. Don't be cynical. Don't roll your eyes. Don't yell at whatever your headphones. Take care of yourselves. All right? This has been Bob Saget's Here For You.